And a very pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition of Tornado Talk. We're here on Monday nights where we talk all things Brevard College athletics. Glad you're able to join us. If you're on the Facebook Live version of this broadcast, please feel free to comment or ask your questions in the comment box. This is an interactive program, and very happy to be joined this evening by Vice President for Student Success, Dean of Students, and Title IX Coordinator for Brevard College, Debbie Dana. Debbie, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you. It's happy to be here.
And also with us, a familiar face to NATO Nation, Director of Athletics for Brevard College, Myranda Nash. Myranda, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, the reason we have Debbie and Myranda here this evening, we're going to answer questions related to the fall 2020 semester, which is just around the corner for the Brevard College student body. And we want to start this conversation by, in case you missed it, reviewing a major announcement that went down last week. The USA South Conference fall schedule was postponed to the spring. And here's what that official news release said: with the health and safety of student athletes, coaches, athletic trainers, and athletic staffs as their priority, the presidents of the USA South Conference unanimously voted to postpone all fall sport competition until the spring 2021 semester. The USA South Conference joined a vast majority of the conferences in NCAA Division III who have also postponed their fall conference schedules. Sports impacted are football, men's and women's soccer, volleyball, men's and women's cross country. Decision made in light of several factors, including the recent rise in positive COVID-19 cases throughout the USA South's geographical footprint. Other factors included the availability, cost, and feasibility of adequate and consistent testing for student athletes. And while the fall sports competition schedule will be moved to the spring of 2021, the impacted sports will have the opportunity to practice and perhaps even the possibility of non-conference competition in the fall. But the USA South Conference schedule postponed to the spring. So big news for Brevard College and the USA South Conference. And Myranda, we'll start with you. If you could give us some more background on how this decision came to light and what it means big picture for our sports and student athletes here at Brevard College.
Yeah, in March, information was coming in every 15 minutes, and it was like, just everyone hold on. And so we had about a 6-week lull before we geared back up again, and, countless meetings a week, talking about what's going to be the best priority for us as an institution to move forward through this pandemic, and how do we put the safety and well-being of our student athletes and coaches and athletic trainers at the forefront of all these decisions. And every leadership team that I was on throughout this, it was very evident that we wanted to make sure we had every piece of information that we could in our hands before a decision was made. And I appreciate that. There was a lot of conferences that kind of jumped ship really early on, and looking back on it, we could have been one of those, but I feel confident that our students know that we took every single piece of information into account before making this decision. And I think that was really key, for me, explaining that to our coaches and to incoming students whose senior year was just impacted, and spring student athletes whose season was just impacted. And so was not made lightly, but we felt like, the presidents felt like we owed it to our student athletes to move things to the spring to give it the best shot we could to have uninterrupted seasons.
Very good. And Debbie, you're also the chair of the Brevard College COVID-19 Advisory Task Force. And I know your team has been preparing for the start of the fall semester diligently. As far as this news goes, with the fall sports being postponed to the spring, did that affect the student move-in dates that were set for Brevard College? I know, anticipating fall early practice for some of the fall sports was part of that equation originally.
Yeah, so we originally had fall athletes moving in starting on Thursday of this week. And so we quickly got together and made an alternate plan to go with the original move-in plan of all new students will start moving in on August 10th on Monday, and we'll spread it out throughout the entire week. So normally move-in is 1 day for returners or for new students and 1 day for returners. Instead, it'll be 6 days. So that'll give us time to make sure that we have a safe environment for our students to move into the residence halls and give them the best experience that we can.
And I've got to say, you know, we pivoted. This was the second time we pivoted on fall move-in dates. When the NCAA came out that August 10th could be the first permissible practice date, Campus Life, Debbie and her staff, Michael Cohen, without hesitation, helped us move all of the fall move-in dates up early. And so then a few weeks later, we had to move back. And so, you know, I can't thank them enough for giving our student athletes the best chance they had, because there's a lot of institutions who weren't willing to move those move-in dates because there's, you know, a global pandemic going on and there's already enough craziness happening. And so really appreciate the partnership that we had there and all the work that went in, because I know it was countless hours. So
flexibility will be a common theme throughout this conversation and throughout this whole process. And Debbie, as far as the move-in goes, which is just around the corner for the entire Brevard College student body, can you describe to us what it will be like for the students, also their families who will be arriving to the Brevard College campus?
Yeah, so it's going to be very different than it ever has been in the past. Each student has been assigned a day and time for move-in, and they will move in during that day and time. And so we've tried to limit that to around 80 students a day, and parents can only bring 2 people with them. In the past, you know, we've let them bring whoever they want, but we really have to make sure that we limit the number of people that come with them so we can manage the crowd that's on our campus that day. So when they arrive on campus, they will be greeted by somebody from our athletic staff, one of our coaches, and they will complete a symptoms checker. As long as they have a green card, then they can come on up and move in once they've completed all their check-in items. And if for some reason they don't get the green card, then we have a partnership with Blue Ridge Health that the student would then go to see them to make sure that they are able to move into the residence hall at that point.
Very good. And Myranda, back to the sports side of things. Part of that announcement last week included a possibility for fall practice and even potential non-conference competition. Can you give us some more detail on that?
Yeah, you know, Commissioner Hart was very specific, and he wanted to allow every institution to make the best choice for whatever their institution looks like. So we have some institutions in our league who have chosen not to practice. We feel like we can provide a safe environment for our students to practice. So what we've done is we've delayed practice starts date till September 1st. Some programs are starting later than that, just kind of depends on what the head coach chooses, but that's the first permissible start date institutionally that we've set. And with the NCAA's rule change of dates versus weeks, it's allowed the flexibility for coaches to practice 3 days a week for X amount of weeks until they get into the season in the spring. So we didn't want to limit the possibility of contests. If we as an institution are healthy and safe, and everyone on our campus does what they need to do to make sure that we can all stay without this mess, then we can look at possible play dates for any sport in the fall. And so we'll make that decision around mid-September. We'll evaluate the health of our campus and make a decision moving forward there.
So with fall practice, occurring this fall, indeed, with just the USA South Conference competition being moved to the spring, what are some of those COVID-19 safety protocols that have been put in place?
I think the first one we found out of the gate was cohort housing. And Debbie, do you want to talk a little bit about cohort housing and how difficult that process was, as I'm sure it was, but also the importance of it?
Yeah, so we made a decision early on that we felt the best thing for our campus and for our students would be for cohort housing. So, this decision wasn't made till late summer, where students have already picked their housing and their roommates and the people they wanted to live with, which sometimes was their teammates but not always. And so once that decision was made that people would live with the people we felt like that they would spend the most of their time with, which is their teammates for our student athletes. And for others, it could be their majors with theater, music, and different areas that they might spend more time with. And talking with the local health department and MAHEC, and even looking at the CDC guidelines, we felt that was giving our campus the best chance to have a successful fall semester. So all students were rehoused, returning students were rehoused with their teammates. We weren't expecting it to go as smoothly as it did, but our students have been very cooperative, and they've understood why the decision was made. And so, we've had a few bumps in the road, but we've been able to work through those. And I can't thank Michael Cohen enough for his patience and his leadership while all this was going on. I mean, he's done a fabulous job of putting this big puzzle piece together called Cohort housing. And, so all football will live together, soccer, basketball, they all have been placed in different housing. And the decision was made because if one person in football is positive, it's easier for us then to isolate that entire group or quarantine that entire group. And it's less likely for them to infect other people outside their group.
Gabby, could we discuss that a little further? If indeed a student does test positive, what is that protocol at Brevard College?
So if a student receives a positive test, they would immediately go into isolation. We have different areas set up on campus for isolation. They would remain in isolation until the health department tells us otherwise, but usually it's about 10 days or until they've been without symptoms or a fever for 24 hours and received a negative test result. And so anyone that person has been in contact with, and contact is a little bit different than what you think. So because we're doing mask and physical distancing, that will limit the number of people that would have to be quarantined, because you have to be within 6 feet for longer than 15 minutes is how that's described. So if a person was in a class with someone and they were on the other side of the room, those people necessarily would not have to be quarantined, but those students directly around that student would have to be quarantined. And so we would rely on the health department for contact tracing. All those people would be contacted, and they would then be in quarantine housing as well.
And the quarantine housing is on the Brevard College campus, correct?
It is on Brevard College campus. So the other thing that helps us with cohort housing is if we had to quarantine a large number of a team, we could keep them on their hall because they're all together anyway on that particular hall, which means we wouldn't have to move them to the housing that's set aside for isolation. Now, if they test positive, that's different. We would have to move them out of that housing into an isolation room by themselves. But if a student is in isolation or quarantine, we would provide all their meals would be delivered to them. A campus life person would be assigned to that student to check on them throughout the day. And then we would help them make arrangements for their classes to be virtual during that time.
Great. Really appreciate that detail. Myranda, back to, the athletic side of things and some of those safety protocols. I know a lot of plans and thinking has been put in as far as places like the training room and the weight room, and certainly the practice field once practice gets going. Can you go into a bit more detail on those areas?
Yeah, I would never pretend to be an expert in this region, and so I think we're all using evidence and factual guidance to make these policies, and I think that's really important to mention. The NCAA has come out with some great resources for us, but then we also want to take extra measures. It's not mandated that there's appointments only in the athletic training room. However, from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. it's appointment only, and then there's pre-practice sessions, and so there's lines in the hall that are going to be 6 feet apart, and we're going to be doing temperature checking before every practice. In the weight room, we have cohort lifts available for teams, but then in the open lift sessions, it's 50 minutes kept at 10 people per lift. And then the 10 minutes leading to the next session, everything is sterilized and sanitized and all the words that I'm not probably getting right here. But so we've come up with very rigid processes that we have to follow in order to maintain our best chance of keeping a healthy campus.
Very good. And actually, our guest last week was new head athletic trainer Julie Miller, a new addition to the Tornado team, and going to be a valuable asset in this whole process as well, right, Myranda?
Yeah, what a time to come on staff. She definitely has the vision and expertise in order to lead us through something like this. So we're very fortunate to have her on staff.
Yeah, Debbie, in terms of kind of the whole team approach and maybe giving folks a little bit of a sense behind the scenes, behind the curtain, sort of the planning that goes on, a lot of different folks around the Brevard College leadership team and staff and faculty a part of all these decisions.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely been a team effort. Michael relied on coaches to help him figure out what groups of players worked well together and who would work best as roommates and different things. And just the faculty have worked hard on figuring out how to help our students be successful in the classroom. And if a student tests positive or even has to be in quarantine, how do we best meet their needs? The dining hall is another area. They've been working really hard to figure out online ordering and delivery and outdoor seating and limited seating in the dining hall and changing all the protocols to, there's no more self-service. Everything is served. So all those things go into place. And that's the beauty of being at a small college. In my view, I think that's why we're able to have our students on campus in the fall, because we are small and we're flexible, and we're able to do that because we are small. And so and everyone has really pitched in and have completed a lot of things that are other duties as assigned in our agreements of employment. And so I think that's what makes Brevard so special.
Our first question, or actually a comment here from Megan Waters. Thank you so much for sharing these details. Kudos, BC, and then the triple heart emoji. So thank you, Megan, for chiming in.
Megan used to be a campus life member at Brevard College way back in the day. So it's good to see her on here.
Absolutely. Great to see you, Megan. Thanks for tuning in. Debbie, you mentioned the dining hall. I know Bill's Boilers House, a popular spot on campus. The coffee shop has been working hard to prepare for a reopening as well.
It'll open. The only place that won't be open is Coltrane Underground. So the snack bar will not be open in Coltrane, but we'll have late night dining in the dining hall from 8 to 11. So all the venues will be open. Bill's will have the walk-up window from the outside, so you never have to enter the building if you don't want to. And everything will be just pick up to go. So there will be no inside dining for Bill's Boiler House.
Very good. Do want to remind folks, if you have a question or comment, just leave it there in that Facebook Live comment box, and we'll be sure to try to get to you throughout this broadcast. Now, Myranda, back to the athletic side of things and the announcement that went down last week. A common question we've been getting quite a bit since the announcement. What about the winter sports of men's and women's basketball? Where are they in the whole timeline here?
As an AD leadership team, we were very particular in making sure that this announcement and decision did not yet impact winter sports. So a lot of conferences you see have postponed all conference schedules until spring. We wanted to give our basketball teams an extra couple months to see if something can shake out. NCAA passed legislation where they can start practice on October 1st now. So that is the plan that we're going on. And then about mid-September, the presidents will reconvene to make a decision on winter sports as well.
Very good. And also, Brevard's unique where we have several non-NCAA sports as well. A cycling program with double-digit national championships, one of the country's only climbing programs, and also competitive cheerleading. As far as those non-NCAA sports, Myranda, any impact there?
So I'll take them one by one because they're all very different. Cheer, typically does not compete until the spring, and so they'll maintain their regular practices in the fall. With climbing, honestly, it's like the most socially distant sport you can get. So they'll be able to practice like normal, and then we'll kind of wait and see. They haven't announced any competitions yet. And so typically those wouldn't start until October. So we'll make some decisions then. And then with cycling, it's a little unique. USA Cycling has not yet mentioned anything about their national championship yet. However, all their conferences have canceled seasons. So we're hopeful that they perhaps move that to the spring. And there are, again, some opportunities for them for local races if we deem it healthy enough in our campus community to compete this fall.
And do also want to mention the spring sports because this could potentially have an impact on them. You know, when you hear that fall sports have been postponed, the spring sports, things like baseball, softball, lacrosse, typically have a fall season of their own, practice, inter-squad scrimmages, that sort of thing. Any impact there on the spring sports at Brevard College?
No impact on practices or inter-squad scrimmages. If they had their one fall play date scheduled, they can temporarily schedule it. And then again, we'll evaluate mid-September on the health and safety of our campus community and make decisions there. But currently, most of those sports could operate largely unimpacted. If anything, they get more days. They typically have never had 114 days, so they've gotten an extra few days to get some practices in the fall.
Very good. So all in all, both for Debbie and Myranda, you know, despite this news of the postponement of the fall sports in the USA South Conference to the spring, still a big opportunity for the student athletes at Brevard College to have a very fulfilling fall in preparation for the spring.
Yeah, I keep saying if I was an incoming football player, man, this would be heaven. I could learn the playbook, get to know my teammates. I get accused of finding the positives too often. And so, again, leave it up to me. But I really feel like this is a unique opportunity. I don't know that I want to live through this ever again, but it is a unique opportunity for our student athletes to take advantage of this fall.
Now, a question here, and we'll let Debbie tackle this one from one of our outstanding student athletes at Brevard College, Hannah Weatherall. Fans of Tornado Talk and NATO Nation members certainly know Hannah from the women's soccer team. Hannah asks, will late night dining require dining dollars or meal swipes?
It will. It will be the very same as it would in Coltrane in the underground. So it'll just be a different location. So students can use their meal swipes or dining dollars for that late night dining. It'll be, I think, Hannah, honestly, it'll be a little bit better than Coltrane because there will be pizza and different things they can make on the grill that they wouldn't have available in Coltrane. So who knows, it may be something that we stick with once all this is over. You know, I think there are some good things that will come out of all of this. I'm like Myranda, I try to find the good things in this. And I think, you know, I think we'll figure out how to do things a little bit differently. And late night dining might be one of those.
Yeah, I think you answered her follow-up question there as well, Debbie. Thank you for that. Will there be snacks or just meals? So you know, appreciate all the consideration going forth from so many parts of Brevard College getting ready for this fall 2020 semester. Now, it's important that the entire college community practices the 3 W's: wear, wait, and wash. Debbie, can you take this one as far as, you know, why that's so important and what are the best practices when we think of the 3 W's?
Yeah, I think if you've done any research or looked at the CDC website, you're going to find a lot of different articles and information about the importance of wearing a mask and staying 6 feet apart. And so there was a study done that was on the CDC website of if you wear a mask and the other person wears a mask that's with you, there's about less than a 2% chance that you will infect each other. And so I can't stress enough the importance of the mask and the physical distancing. And I would say, since it's Tornado Talk, for our student athletes, you know, if you really want to play in the spring, what you do in the fall is going to be so important. And doing those things that we've asked you to do. And we understand it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be hard. You're used to they're, student athletes and college students in general are used to having all this freedom when they come to college. And we're trying to pull back on that a little bit for their best interest. And so wearing the mask will have to be worn at all times inside for every class, even though you're 6 feet apart. So as Myranda said earlier about taking extra precautions, we want to take that extra little step because our goal is we know we're going to have a positive or two, but we don't want to have an outbreak. And the way to stop that is to wear your mask and social distance, physical distance, and find other ways to connect with each other. And we're going to help them do that. And so, and wash your hands, wash your hands all the time. And those are the 3 things that have been proven to help stop the spread of not just COVID, but the flu and all kinds of other different diseases.
The 3 W's: wear a cloth covering over your nose and mouth, wait 6 feet apart, avoid close contact, and wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. Also use hand sanitizer. Reminders all over campus in terms of signage and compelling social media campaigns and that kind of thing. There'll be reminders everywhere for folks to remember the 3 W's, correct?
Oh yeah, there'll be signage everywhere. And I think, faculty and staff, we will model that behavior. We will always have our mask on at all times. And it's been hard to get used to, especially this summer when I was in a building, sometimes by myself, no one else was in there, but I had to get into the habit of putting my mask on anytime I left my office. And I think the more we do that, and it'll get cooler soon, and so they'll feel good in the cold. It's a little bit uncomfortable right now, but as the weather gets cooler, it'll be more comfortable. And we are giving every student a mask. They can choose either the mask or the buff, whichever one they want. So we're trying to help them out and support Brevard College along the way.
And Myranda, earlier today, the first Brevard College Athletics all-staff meeting, an annual event where all the coaches and admin team gathers up and gets organized for the upcoming academic year. Masks and social distancing was in place for that meeting, and certainly will be the norm moving forward. Can you give folks, maybe again behind the curtain, some of the things as an athletic department we're looking to accomplish to make sure that the 3 W's are indeed enforced?
Yeah, I completely feel where Debbie was coming from. We reported back June 1, and it took me a solid 3 weeks to really remember to wear my mask. It was kind of like when I lived in Minnesota, I had to remember to get my coat. So it is certainly, welcoming back our coaches to campus. We've got to make sure that they're modeling that for their students as well. And, we're not asking very much. And I think that this is a very simple thing that we can do to help all of our students, our faculty, our staff, especially our athletic trainers. Keeping them safe is really important.
Well, I'm thrilled to see this message here from Brevard College President Dr. David Joyce. Dr. Joyce writes, "Y'all are spot on. It's going to be a different kind of semester, but the heart and soul of BC always shines through." Great words there from our leader, Dr. David Joyce.
Absolutely.
Appreciate that, President Joyce. So, Debbie, a couple more details, as far as preparing the student athletes and the general student body for this fall. You mentioned the classroom accommodations and some of the practices that are being put in place there. Can you go into some more details as far as what students can expect in the classroom?
Sure. So all classrooms have been set up for physical distancing. So each desk, there's a 6 feet perimeter around that desk. So everyone is 6 feet apart. Mask will be required, and faculty will be wearing a mask as well. All faculty will also have a lapel mic to help if they need to help with their voice to project out into the classroom. And if they need to record a class because a student is out due to COVID or whatever other reason it might be. Before a student can even come into the classroom, they have to complete a symptoms checker through BC Radar. and they will receive either a green or red card. Without that green card, they will not be allowed to enter the classroom or the dining hall or residence hall. And we will also do temperature checks before they can enter those buildings as well. And so, it'll be a different setup. Some classes will be much smaller than what we've been used to, which is saying a lot for us because we have small classes to begin with. But we wanted to make sure every class was set up to be only 6 feet distance between each student, which required some classes to be another section added, so the class could be small enough to fit into a classroom.
And you mentioned BC Radar. Just to tell folks a little more what that is, that's a smartphone application, an app you would have on your phone, and certainly a major resource as we move forward with these COVID-19 protocols. Debbie, anything else to add on the BC Radar and how that's so useful for students, staff, and faculty alike?
Yeah, it's going to be required for all of us to complete that every day. So I would encourage everyone to get into the habit of just filling out, I think it's 4 or 5 questions, and then you get that green card. Again, I think it's important for faculty and staff to do that, to be examples for our students to continue to do that. And the good part for me is with BC Radar, there will be a report that updates every time someone fills it out. So I can go on and check to see who's completing those symptoms checks. And if I notice a student has not completed it, we can contact that student to find out why they haven't completed it, encourage them to complete it. And so again, we're going to really make sure that we keep up on who's doing the things we've asked them to do, who's wearing their mask, and making sure that there's no large group meetings. In the residence hall, we will remove the furniture in the lobbies because we don't want those group meetings. And again, those are all going to be changes because, the one thing we say at Brevard is we want to build community. And so we have to figure out different ways of building that community. We're still about that, but we have to figure out a different way to do it.
Folks, if you'd like to ask a question or leave a comment, we'll have Debbie Dana and Myranda Nash on the program for a few more minutes this evening. Here from Kimberly Willis, there is no place like BC. I am always proud to be an alumna. Keep up all the hard work to keep BC students safe. Thank you, Kimberly Willis. Debbie, a couple more from you as we get prepared for this semester. Creek Week, an annual event for incoming students in particular. Can you tell us a little more about Creek Week and perhaps this year's plans?
So Creek Week is our new student orientation, and it is something that we are very proud of and the program that we've developed. And now we've had to completely change that, and that's okay. We're being flexible with that. So our students will still get that welcome that they have been told about and have heard our other students talk about. But most of the events will be held outside, and those that can't be held outside will be held virtually. And so, we had thought about, could we put some people in Porter Center? Porter Center holds quite a few students. But once we got in there and looked at it, we just felt it would be better to either host things outside or virtually if we can. So we've done things differently with Creek Week in that all meetings will be according to their FYE class, which is their first year experience course, because that's a group of students they're going to be with anyway. And so again, we're trying to limit the number of people that they're with throughout that time. And then, Alessandra Tavaloni and Beth Abrams are working hard to figure out how to help students connect virtually rather than in person. And so I have no doubt they will have a great program, and they will do the programming that is necessary to help our students connect with each other in a very meaningful way.
Message here from Shirley Arnold. Great to hear from Shirley. Great way for fall first-year student athletes to create great study habits to be academically successful. Would you like to follow up on that, Myranda? I know from the academic standpoint, a lot of resources for student athletes.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Angie Mascaro and Brandon Smith have been working diligently on our study hall pilot program that was piloted last year, and this was not the intended second year that we thought we could see. We saw immense success with our football population for the study hall program, and undoubtedly they've pivoted to a virtual option that we will be using for all of our students, and we'll be learning using learning consultants for that. And so we do know that some people learn better face to face, and so there will be an option for people to go through a more traditional study hall. But next year, we're going to be considering it academic coaching. And that's the name of this program. It's going to be a large part of our quality enhancement plan for the college moving forward. And this fall, it will look a little different in that there'll be more virtual sessions versus the in-person sessions. However, that will still be an option for those who learn best that way, which we know that happens. So I'm so proud of the work that they've put in it because it certainly was not an easy task. But it will be an incredible time for our new student athletes to adjust personally, professionally, to really an incredibly new circumstance for them to live in.
And Debbie, Brevard College also offers the Success Mentor program, a big resource and can certainly be extremely helpful for incoming students. Could you tell us a little more? Perhaps our audience isn't familiar with Success Mentors.
Yeah, so every new student is assigned a Success Mentor, which is a current staff person that takes on an extra responsibility to help guide and help our first-year students and new students to transition to Brevard College. So they provide support in all different areas, and they're the go-to person for our new students for financial aid issues, academic advising, academic coaching, roommate issues, you name it. Those Success Mentors are their connection for those first-year students. It is amazing how this program has grown and the positive effect that it's had on our student body. I mean, I can't say enough about the people that serve as Success Mentors, which two people are on the show tonight. I think Myranda and Phil both serve as Success Mentors, but we have heard nothing but positives from our students about doing this. And I think the one thing that makes our program unique, there's a lot of colleges out there that do this type of program, but our program is for every student. It's not for a certain population of our student body. It's for every student. And it takes, again, it's one of those things that makes Brevard special because you have people jumping in and doing things outside of their regular job responsibilities to make sure our students have the best possible chance to be successful at Brevard College.
Another individual active in the Success Mentor program, the Director of Compliance and Academic Services, Angie Hughes-Mascaro. Angie writes, great work, BC, preparing to welcome students back. Angie also was a big part in the Tornadoes of Brevard College earning full-time membership into NCAA Division III and USA South Conference a year early. Myranda, in case folks missed that episode a few weeks back on Tornado Talk, big deal, right? NCAA Division III full-time membership.
Absolutely. You know, we've been waiting on this for a long time. And I remember before I left 5 years ago was when the process was in full swing. And then I luckily got away for 3 years to not be a part of all the reports. But man, I came back 2 years ago and everything was just lockstep. They had it down to a T. So it was an easy process for me because it was already paved. The path was paved. So I'm excited for our student athletes now to be able to compete for regional play and national championships. And that's really important.
Few other athletics news and notes as we start to wind down here on Tornado Talk, but we do have time for your questions and comments if anyone else would like to chime in. Now, Myranda, the new field house and the expansion of Ives Lamel Family Field, very exciting projects happening on campus, which are really going to just dramatically enhance the student athlete experience for Tornado student athletes. Can you tell folks a little more sort of what you envision to be the impact of those two new facilities?
Yes, and I have a puppy who's gotten a hold of a toy, so I apologize.
No problem. It's
Um,
the beauty of this platform. We get to hear from the
I mean,
dogs and cats as well.
he will not leave it alone. I think these these facility changes are just an absolute complete game changer for our sports, and not just the sports that get to enjoy it, but for everyone. And this is something that will just uplift all of our student athletes. We've got an incredible vision of change for the next 10 years. And I cannot wait to see this thing get painted. If you've seen the barn, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. The barn that was where the football team previously was, the color scheme is beautiful, and that's the color scheme that we're going to start seeing on other facilities around campus. And so it is going to be a special place for our alum to come back and visit. They're going to be so proud of coming and getting to sit in real bleachers to watch a soccer game or lacrosse game or football game. And so I can't wait for a true homecoming. I'm sad that this year it's not going to probably look the same, but what a party 2021 will be. So we're looking forward to that.
Christy
Yes, they are,
Cobble
Christy.
chiming in. Puppies are excited for BC too, no doubt about it. Debbie, exciting time overall for the college. When you look around and see the construction, projects happening, certainly a lot of momentum. Despite obviously all the hard work and unique times that we're dealing with COVID-19, it's a great time to be a Tornado.
Oh, absolutely. It's the best time to be a Tornado. I think there's so much going on. There's so much excitement. Even with all the COVID going on, we on BC Radar, if you're on that app, the conversations going on between new students and returning students and the excitement they have to be back on campus. I mean, it's just amazing to me how our students are responding. And it makes me feel even better about our fall semester because I know they want to be here. They want to be part of something great. And I know they'll do what we've asked of them because they're Tornadoes and they want this to be a success. And, even with the new field house, there's an academic component in that building. Our exercise science program will have a lab there and a classroom there. And so, we're trying to connect those dots everywhere across campus. And, just to see that building go up is, I get to see it out my window every morning and the work that's happening. And it's just so exciting to see all those things happening on our campus.
One more facility project, Myranda, a ribbon cutting last week for the BEAU and Barbara Holsey Athletic Suite. Actually, where I'm broadcasting from at this moment, studios inside that athletic suite. Great news for the athletic department altogether, and it's certainly going to be make things convenient for the student athletes to have everything in one place here at the Boshamer Gymnasium.
Yeah, we took away their study hall space, and I kept telling our students last year this was never intended to be a study hall space, and I can't wait for them to see it. They're going to be so excited when they walk in there and see what it turned into, what it morphed from is actually what we should say. It was just one big green open room, and it is a beautiful piece of artwork now, made all possible by Chairman of the Board Barbara Holsey and her husband Beau. So it's wonderful to see grads give back in a way that is so meaningful. So we've really appreciated the space.
Yeah, thank you very much, Barbara and Beau Holsey, class of 74 and 75. Really just a spectacular project that came to fruition, the new Beau and Barbara Holsey Athletic Suite. Now, also, Myranda, the BC Tornadoes Open set for August 19th at Lake Toxaway Country Club. This is a sold-out event, and it's happening, right?
Yeah, it's our major fundraiser for the year. And so when all this mess happened, I'm thinking, do we push it back? And Will from Lake Toxaway, the golf pro, has been just incredible. And so we capped it at 84. We usually have over 100. And so I knew we're going to take some losses there. But we've had so many of our corporate sponsors send us their money and tell us they don't need to play. And in a time where everyone's money has been cut and impacted some way, it's so meaningful for us to be able to hit our marks that we did last year. And I'm hoping, we've got a silent auction that's more of like a buy now auction that'll have a lot of like Clemson things that people happen to like in Alabama. But with that, we're hoping to break last year's monetary record and really set us up to do some things. We're revamping our softball field, and that's going to take a lot of work in terms of dollars. And so having that resource is paramount for their success as well.
And want to thank the Lake Toxaway Country Club folks, really working hard to make sure it's a safe environment for the participants as well.
Yep. Will Bartram has been a rock star, and we've made some modifications. We don't have shotgun start. We've got tea times, and of course, food service is a little different. And they've been so flexible. And Reg Heinisch, the owner of the course and a former chairman of the board, has let us use it for 12 years now. And it's an exclusive course that people love to play. And so it's sold out in no time.
One final news item before I let you all go. Just a couple days left in the Brevard College Athletics local elementary school supply donation drive. We're asking folks to bring the following items to the Boshemer Gymnasium: healthy snacks, kids' face masks, earbuds with microphones, reusable water bottles, reading books for ages K through 5, pencils, other items not quite as high priority but still useful: crayons, glue sticks, tissues, ruled paper, spiral notebooks, and markers. And these items will go to 5 local elementary schools right here in Transylvania County. A very important program as the elementary schools are getting ready to start up as well. Myranda, I know this was a bit of a brainchild of yourself and some others. Important program here, correct?
Yeah, I just felt compelled that as a community member that there's some things that we can do. And so this is a year that a lot of families haven't ever experienced before. And if there's something that we can do to help them out, we certainly want to, and felt like perhaps targeting the elementary age population wouldn't be biting off too much, and we could really service that population.
Well, bring those items to the Boshemer Gymnasium. There's actually a table set out in front of the gymnasium. You can just leave the items there. A athletic staff member will then bring the items safely inside, and then they'll be delivered to those elementary schools here in Transylvania County. Well, before we let you go, would like each of you a chance to sort of give your final message to the Brevard College students as they prepare for the fall 2020 semester. Debbie, final words as the students kind of enter their final few days before they're headed here to Brevard, North Carolina, and Brevard College.
Yeah, I just think we're ready for you to get back. We've been without students since March, and we do this work because of them. And it's been lonely on campus without our students around. And we want them to be back, and we want them to come back to a safe environment. So we asked them to bring an extra mask. I would bring a camp chair. There'll be a lot of events outside, so you have somewhere to sit, and come with a great attitude and an adventurous spirit to figure out how to do things a little bit differently this year.
One more comment here from Lisa Coleman. As the parent of an incoming freshman athlete, I would like to thank you all for all you're doing to keep them safe and healthy. Thank you, Lisa. Really appreciate that comment. Myranda, I know those of us in the athletic department are eager to see the faces of the student athletes as well and get everybody back here to campus. Final words as the student athletes prepare to make it here fall 2020 semester.
Yeah, I think a positive attitude is going to go a long way this year, and really heeding any advice that we give them. I think that I remember what it was like to be an 18-year-old, and I don't know that I would have bought in to wearing a face mask, but it is the utmost importance to keep our campus community safe and to give you the ability to complete your seasons this spring. Our fall is going to be full of a lot of preparation, and this spring is going to be one like none other that we've ever seen. So put in the work in the spring to make this fall to make it just a wonderful spring. I'm so excited to have 3 games a day. Who knows what it's going to look like, but really excited to have an opportunity for all of our 19 sports to be in season at one time. It's going to be nutty, but I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Whole new meaning to March Madness coming this spring. Well, do want to thank our guests, Vice President for Student Success, Dean of Students, and Title IX Coordinator. She's also the chair of Brevard College's COVID-19 Advisory Task Force, Debbie Dana. Debbie, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And Director of Athletics, Myranda Nash. Myranda, thanks for joining the show.
As always, Phil, it was wonderful.
I want to thank you, the audience, for tuning in, and be sure to follow the Tornadoes on social media. You can check out Brevard College Athletics on Instagram and Twitter at BC Tornadoes, and on Facebook, YouTube, and also the audio version on SoundCloud. Brevard College Tornado Athletics is who you need to follow there. We'll see you next Monday night for another edition of Tornado Talk, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for tuning in. Go Tornadoes.